Okay.
Hello, Luiza.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
We're gonna hear some cats meowing a lot today. Okay, I'm gonna record. Just because last week, I don't know, something happened and it took forever for YouTube to load. And then for a while, I thought we had lost the whole session and I was really worried. So from now on, I'm gonna record and to the YouTube. So if something goes wrong with the YouTube, I always record it to send. But just so you know, sometimes it takes a while to load. I think we only realized it last week because everyone was in a hurry to finish Tom's assignment and wanted to watch the session. So this week we'll be covering what you need to know for Ajit's assignment, which will happen. You're going to be given the assignment this week, and then you're going to have a week to complete. And I'm going to be using, he sent me his slides, and I'll be using the example that he did in class and redo the example that he did in class. Gilma, that he did in class in R today. I just sent an email with 2 files. If you want to not only watch what I'll be doing, but if you also want to be doing things at the same time, you can download those files, which is basically the transaction table that he sent you, separated in 2 parts, the input table and the gross output table, which is similar to what you will have on your assignment. So hopefully the only thing you need to do is kind of change that to the new numbers that he gives you, and everything else should run. This. Did you receive? No. Okay.
Yes.
2 more things. One, since I have a lot of people in today, which is great. The idea of the workshop was always to kind of get you going and give you a head start on those classes, which I think is kind of done. And from now on, unless there is a specific things that you need to know, or that a professor tells me, can you please explain them how to do this or that thing, I would mostly not even necessarily hold sessions every week, but move into a mode somewhat what was last week of kind of just helping you with the assignments. So I don't think you have any assignment coming up for Tom or Fernando that soon, do you? Or
Fernando,
the next
Fernando.
assignments are due Monday the 12th and Tuesday the 13th. So right at like.
Okay, so then what we can do next week is that we do a session a little bit more where you come with questions and we can try to solve them together. So one thing is, it is going to be much more helpful if you're coming with actual R questions and not as much with econometrics or Tom's classes content question. I might be able to answer some of those, but I don't know, I'm not preparing myself to be on top of all the materials of all the 3 professors at all times, because that's quite a lot of work. So some things I know just because I've just because I do, but it's more helpful if you have already thought how you can solve those problems and your questions is more really related to R. How do I put that in R form? I'm trying to do a function that does this and that. So start learning how to think as an algorithm. What are the commands or the steps that takes you from having nothing to having whatever you need to have? And then I can help you with that. And of course, for some of those, there exists commands already. So with Fernando assignment, really usually what happens is if you go through the chapter X to Y, which are the chapters that are being covered on that assignment, and you go on there, his R code of those, most of the commands you will need will be there anyways. I will take a look at the assignment beforehand, but and of Tom's, but yeah, please, let's try to do more R-related things. Okay, so that's gonna be next week. So this week we are doing something fun and actually super simple. Okay, let's clean things. Clean this actually. So as you can see, really, it is a 24-line command code. It's really not that long to do the assignment for Ajit. And we go slowly, line by line. And if you have questions on the content here as well, we can go a little bit through it. But okay, so actually, so basically, let me open. So Ajit sent me his old assignment because he hasn't handed it yet to you guys, right?
No, I think he hasn't.
Not yet.
Okay. So let's start by looking into this. I think it's open on my. Yes, let me just share something different for a second. Oh my God, I have so many things open. Here. Okay, so this is from last year. And the table itself, so he's gonna send you a table like this probably. I think what's gonna happen for this year is that he's gonna change the numbers on the table. And then it's gonna be very similar, I'm hoping, but we can also go a little bit more through it next week if we need to as well, once you have the actual assignment. And, oh my God. And so what you have here is, as you can see here, this is a transactions table. Basically, the way you read this is, so you're reading, when you're reading row-wise, what you're seeing is where did the production of iron go to. So 90 of, and then here the unities are not told, but the unities are clearly not of, they're not, those measures are not measured in the same unities. So iron is measured in some kind of ton or something, but of irons. Same for coal. So these are quantities. This is not prices. So you cannot just sum up those things and understand, have an understand. There's no common unit measure here. So you have 90 of iron that is being sold to the iron sector to produce iron. 50 of the iron is being sold to the coal sector to produce coal, and 40 to the wheat sector to produce wheat. And the total production of iron, the gross output is 200. And this accounts what was sold as what we call intermediate inputs, and also as final demand, which is not here, which would be the net output, which we don't have here, but you can calculate as a residue. So if you sum up those numbers, if you do 200 minus that, that's the amount of iron that was sold for final demand and not as an intermediate product on your economy. Okay. And when you're reading the column, what I'm looking to each of the sectors and seeing how the production happens. So the iron sector buys 90 of iron, 120 of coal, and 60 of wheat, as well as hires 11 people per year. Well, yeah, that's probably the unit that he's using here. If he's following, because I think he's following Pazinetti, right? 11 men year is the unit that he calls, and those are being employed in producing those 200 of iron. And as you can see again, so here, so row wise, you can actually sum, because row wise, all of these are quantities of iron. But column wise, you can't really sum because each of these are measured in a different quantity. So really when you're summing these, you're saying 90 of iron, 120 of coal, 60 of wheat, and 11 of labor goes into producing 200 of iron, which really doesn't mean that there is no leftover. So basically, once you have prices for this in some way, you can have a better idea of what's happening. And in a real input-output table, you would have those things measured in dollars, and then you would have another row afterwards, which would tell you how much went to profits as well. Okay, and your final demand. So in a real input-output table, if this was not just a abstract kind of example, well, it's actually very concrete, but just an example, you would also have your final demand, which is the difference between the gross output and what was sold as intermediates, separated by types of final demand. So you have demand by the government, investment, final demand for consumption at households, and so on. Okay, so an input-output really gives you a very well-detailed perspective of the economy. And when you're reading it in one direction, you have kind of you can look into how your GDP is divided in terms of demand. And when you look into the column direction, you look at your GDP by sector as it is divided in terms of supply. So you have those two perspectives of how to calculate it there in the table. And at the end, the final sum of everything where you have around here would be your GDP, where you have net output. So the net output being seen as what was demanded as final demand, but also net output being seen as what is surplus. So what is wages plus profits plus, so what is income that was generated, and not just what was inputs that were used, right? And then a lot of input-output modeling, and a lot of the Srafa model and the Leontief model comes from just focusing on this part of the table, the inside part of the table. Because really what this is telling you is that when iron decides to produce, there are two things that is happening. It is supplying iron to the economy and to itself, but actually it's also creating demand for other things, including iron itself. So when you decide to produce some iron and you need iron to produce iron, you kind of have this cycle that is created. So this is kind of a multiplying effect. And actually one of the things that we're going to do is the Leontief table, which can be seen it's very similar in a way, but in a table form of something like a multiplier. It is a multiplier, but like the formula itself is something very similar to other multipliers that are used to, like the Keynesian multiplier and things like that. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look into not this table, but the one that he used in class, which is the same inside. The transactions table is the same, but the gross output is slightly different. And I sent that by email to you, those two parts separate into different files. And then he asks you to calculate the coefficients, the A table, derive the Leontief inverse, and find the maximum rate of profit, the embodied labor, and then assuming that the rate of profit is 10%, calculate the prices using the net product as the numeraire, which is what we also call the SRAFA standard commodity. And then, and then the last one is actually just, yeah, it's just, you won't need to explain. So, okay. So now, any questions so far? How comfortable is everyone with the theoretical material here?
Good.
Because he already went through this in class, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So we're just putting it in practice. So, yeah, so the reason I decided to go with the table from class is because you have the slides, so you can also look into the results. And if you do it yourself and not now with me, you can check, because he has the answer to all of these little steps in the file from class itself. So let me, where's my R? Oh my God, I can't even find.
That's me all the time, Luisa, so don't feel bad.
No, you have no idea, seriously. Where is that? Oh, here, RStudio. I have Stata, Mathematica, Adobe, Art, LaTeX, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, all open with multiple windows each. It's just a mess. I don't know why. It's what happens at the end of a week of work for me. I've just gone through all of these things and doing different things and never close them. I don't know why. I should. Anyways. So let's start by, hopefully everyone can do this by now, but set your WD to whatever you have downloaded those two files that I sent you to. And then I actually should, I'm not, yeah, let's go slowly and you can type the things, because I think that's gonna be more, it's really such a short code and simple, you know. The material is a bit complex, but the coding of it is extremely simple.
Can you say again what we should do?
I sent an email like just now with two files, the inputs table.csv and the gross output 2.csv. So download those, put them in whichever directory you're gonna choose as your working directory, set your working directory to that, and then we can just load them. So then you're gonna type this code lines first, table read.csv, input CSV, and I think the read CSV. So if you just reopen your, it's that, I can't remember now if that's part of a package. No, that's there. You don't need to do anything about that. Yeah.
I got an error loading the CSV. It says error in function left, comma right. Comparison 3 is possible only for atomic and list types.
Can you share your screen? That's weird. I get a warning on mine, which I don't know why.
Can you enable?
Oh, always. Let me see. Okay, you should be able now.
All right, so that's what I see. Error in function left, right. What's that?
Oh, you're missing the arrow table.
Oh, got it.
And then it's read.csv. Is that what you have there? Yeah. Try now. There you
Okay, thank you.
That was an easy one. I hope all of them are like that. Okay, everyone has.
No, I cannot open. It says not such file or directory.
So that's because you're not in the right directory. The word. So your problem is this is not safe. So right now, so for example, now when I go get.wd on mine, oh, get.wd, not get.wd, just get.wd. Okay. You see, so this is set to this folder, right? So if you go get WD on yours and then you save where it is, that's a shortcut if you don't want to set the WD.
So I should I save in that directory the input table?
You can do that, or you need to change that directory. Either one of them. Either you change to the directory where you do. The other option is, again, what you can do is just use this, right? And then load it.
Thank you, Luiza.
But I don't know. I really hope people at some point get very comfortable with setting and changing their WD. And if you're not yet, come to me. Let's do an office hours because I know it is an annoying part. But this is very important because it's always the first step. If ever you're using data that is not on your, that is not like you're just inputting by hand the data, you know, you're always going to need to do that. And also that's also important if you're saving anything, right? If you're saving your outputs, so you know where your output is being saved. So who does not have the file loaded yet?
Me, but I will take one more minute. So you can continue. It's all right. Thank you, Luiza.
Everyone
Should we
else?
load both of them or just the one?
You can load both if you wanna already load both, yes. So you can do it differently. Do table 1, table 2.
I received Excel sheets from you. Did I miss something?
Sorry?
I received Excel sheets of the table.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that I'm gonna download.
Rudy, your audio is not, it's cutting.
Yeah, I'm saying I received Excel sheets for the table.
Yeah.
Are these the ones that we're gonna use to RStudio, or did you send other emails?
No, it's the Excel sheets. It's the CSV files, the input table CSV and the gross output to CSV.
Okay.
So we need to upload those CSV files into our R.
Okay.
So once we do that, yeah, I did clean. So you can see that the table 1 is just the inputs part. So iron, coal, wheat, and units of labor. And I went through how we read this. And the table 2 is just the gross output of each of those, which you see the numbers are slightly different than the one exercise I showed you. And that's because I'm using the same example as he used in class. And the only difference was the gross output. So I first did just, oh yeah, so when I loaded this, so this is just for statics. When I loaded this, actually the row names became the first variable. So when I look into the table 1 file, as you can see, it actually, the first column is the names of those, and I don't want that. So what I did is that I changed and I took the first row and made the first row into the names of the rows. So basically what I did here is that I created another table, which it excludes the first column. So whenever I wanna, if I have an object, I can always call that object using this. So this is the whole table. So this says all rows and all columns. If I just put a 1 here, this is just going to give me the first row. If I put a 1 here, this is going to give me the first row and the first column. If I put a 2 here, now it's giving me the second row, first column, and so on. Everyone understands that? This is very useful if you want to, I don't know, if I want to just take 2 columns and 1 row, for example. Or so this is a good way of kind of selecting just part of a table. So this is what I did here. So just I called the inputs table is just the part of my table that does not contain the names. And then I took that first column, which is iron, coal, wheat, units of labor, and I assigned that as the name of the inputs table. So row.names inputs is just giving names into that. So now my inputs looks like this. So instead of, you see the difference between that and table?
Yes.
Everyone with me? It's very hard. No one has their video on. I can't even see your faces.
I have a question with you know, the table and the open parentheses, comma, 2 or comma number, and
yeah.
So the comma is before and after. What is the, because, and then you also have the colon
yes.
in the middle. So what is, like, I guess, what is left? I guess, why is there a colon now?
Okay, so this is row, after comma is columns. This is saying column 2 through column 3. Column 2 through column 4. Okay.
Yeah, understand. Yes, understand.
I think if you wanted like column 2 and 4, you would need to do this, but I'm not even sure. Yeah. So then if you wanted to do like, that's another way of doing column 2 and 3. But then you need to do the C2, 3. So that's basically the same, the 2, then the column. Exactly the same thing.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Luiza,
Yes.
this comma separates rows and columns.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Comma, there is comma, right?
Uh-huh.
After 2, there is comma. So that separates row and column.
Yes. So this is row,
okay.
And this is column. So the comma separates what's row from what's column.
Okay, thank you.
And then the column in general means like from to. So 2, 2, 3. That's a general kind of syntax of what a column means in R. Okay, so now we have our inputs table. Can everyone just say inputs in your console and get that?
Yes.
Yes.
Angie, are you there now? Not yet.
I have to make the table inputs and then I will see it.
Okay. Rudy?
Actually, to be honest, I wasn't able to upload. I don't know how to upload the table.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm saying that I'm honestly wasn't able to upload the tables from the Excel into our studio. It's not that I wasn't able. I don't know how to do it.
So you're gonna say table read.csv and then put the name. So you're gonna use this command.
Okay.
But for that to work, you need the table to be saved on your working directory.
Which is where?
Which is whatever you set to. So this is what this is saying. So this line here, I'm saying use as my working directory this folder. So one way you can do it, that's what I was telling Angie, if you do not know how, because since changing the working directory, there's a whole syntax problem, which is different for a Word or for a Mac or a PC. And also if you have multiple languages in your computer, it can be a bit messy, as Angie can tell you. So if you just type on your console, get WD parentheses like that, This is gonna tell you what your working directory is. So then if you save your file into the folder that comes at last there, and then run this line, it should work. The other option is to just open it manually using this button here. And then just load those two datas.
Okay. Okay, I will do it. Thanks.
Okay, so next is our gross output, which I think similarly, where's table 2? So this is what my table 2 looks like, and there's the same problem. But that one I don't even, because so that one, what I'm gonna do is that I'm just gonna make a vector of it. And so I'm not gonna name it anything because of the, I'm not even gonna give row names to those. So now I have my inputs and my gross output. Okay, let me not have this in the. So the first question is the A table, which is our coefficients table. So what is the A table? Anyone wants to tell me how, what are the steps that we need to take to create an A table? Out of those two.
We divide the total output quantity in the components of the input table so that we get per unit requirement measure.
Per unit require method, exactly. So I want to know on iron, instead of having a 90 here, I want to know per each gross output unit, how much iron is there. So then each one of these, instead of being iron quantity, is going to be, this one is going to be iron per units of iron per unit of iron. This next one, it's going to be unit of coal per unit of iron. Okay. If all of these were in the same unit, if all of this was actually in dollars, what you would have is kind of out of $1 of production of this industry, how many cents went to each of these other industries directly into the production, right? We're gonna get to the Leontief and how to read that, but this is still just directly, right? So as I don't know who was Prabin, right? So what you need to do now is divide each of these elements by 180, each of these by 450, and each of this by 480. And that's going to be our coefficients table. So this is annoying. And so if you just try to do, just so you can see, so if you just try to do inputs divided by gross outputs, it's not doing it correctly, because you can see, so this is 90 divided by 180. The next one is supposed to be 120 divided by 180, which is clearly something above 0.5. And what I'm getting here is 0.26. So this is not correct. So what this is doing, when I just say inputs divided by gross output, what this is doing is that it's taking each one of this, and then so it divides this by that, then this by that, then this by that, and then goes back. It's a very weird thing. It doesn't really do what you want to do. So you need to first transpose your inputs and then divide by the gross output. Then it's going to do it correctly. But then, so when I do that, so T is a transpose. So you can see the inputs table looks like this, and the transpose of the units table looks like that, okay? And when I divide the transpose by the gross output, Sorry, I need to do this. Then it's going to be correct, but then it's looking the wrong direction. So then I need to transpose it back. Everyone follows me? So I transpose the inputs, divide by gross output, and transpose it back. So then it's going to look like what we need it to look like. So wrong way of doing is like this. Everyone follows? So this is our coefficients table. So this is saying that 0.5 units of iron goes into the production of 1 unit of iron. 0.66 units of coal goes into the production of 1 unit of iron directly. Okay, so when there is an increase in the production of iron by 1 unit, you have a direct increase in the demand of iron of 0.5, 0.66 of units of coal, 0.33 units of wheat, and so on, and 0.06 of labor. So then next, why do I do that next? Let me look into the exercise. So the next question, so the coefficients table, the next it asks me to explain in words the meaning of the numbers appearing on the row units of labor. So you can explain that, which I just did. So this is how many units of labor are demanded once you have an increase in the production of each of these goods of 1 unit. So this is how you read that. How much more labor you need when there is an increase in the production of iron by 1 unit. You need 0.06 unit of labor or you can just think you need 0.06 units of labor to produce 1 unit of iron. Okay. So next it asks us to derive the Leontief inverse that corresponds to the A matrix that you calculated and display it in a table, explain in words the meaning of the numbers appearing under the column wheat in your table. Okay, so everyone is with me?
Yes.
Anyone has questions, are behind, want to share the screen to catch up, or?
Yeah, I received error in this coefficient.
Do you want to share a screen? Nishal, do you want to share a screen? No. Or you want to just tell me what error you got?
Yes, you cannot share screen, it says, while other participants.
Wait, so go, try now. Wait. You're missing the same, so the same thing, you're missing look at the arrow that you did.
Questions not found.
No, so go back to your, wait, I think it's my fault. Fit to window, okay. Your line 15 is coefficients, and then you have just half of the arrow.
Oh.
And also, I mean, it's fine, but you have a typo in coefficients. So when you go on, you're gonna need to always write coefficients like that. Maybe we can all just write co-f, which is because coefficients is an annoying word. But you have 2 E's there, yeah. You have 2, yeah, there.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Anyone
Could you
else?
explain? Yeah, could you explain, please, again the what you did with that tables or inputs to table with the comma 2 and colon 4? That command again. Why you did that?
Oh, this line here?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing here, so look at my table. My table, the first column of it is the names, right? So I have the first column of this table, which I can call upon. So if I do table, all rows, first column, this is what it looks like. So this is not a title. This is not the row names. This is actually a row. So if I try to divide my table one by something, I'm gonna have a problem because these are names, right? I wanna have a table that is solely numeric. So the first thing I do is just, so this line here, I'm just getting rid of the first column. So I'm saying, so when I do just a comma here, this reads as take all of rows. So this is the same as saying 1, 2, it's 4 rows, right? 4. So all rows, but all columns, but the first, which I think you could also have done like this, -1. The same thing, but so there are multiple ways of writing this, right? 2 through 4. So mainly what I'm doing here is I'm excluding the first row, the first column, sorry. That's what this does. But I'm excluding the first column by just creating a table, which is every other column. That's what the two, it's take columns 2 through 4 of table. And then give a name to that, which is inputs. And then I use the first column of table, which is this, and input that as a row names into the inputs table. So when I do that, my inputs now have the name. So the difference is this is not a column anymore. This is actually the names of the rows. So when you look into inputs here, you see this is names and names. When you look into table, you had the first column was the names. Is it clear now, or you have more questions on this?
I guess, so what's the code we would need to put in for that again? Sorry.
It's this one. So inputs, sorry, so this one, which is just taking out the first line. And then this one assigns the names as names. So those 2 lines here.
I got an error with the row names function.
Did you do row dot names? And
Yeah.
what is the error you have?
It says error in row names df, where you assign x comma value equals value. It says invalid row names length.
So, and you're using the table one?
Yeah.
Can you share? Sorry, I'm gonna need it to share. Just...
Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here, right here, did that, and then here, that's where the error is.
So run the inputs first, just at line 13.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the way above, on you have read CSV.
Yeah.
Did that work?
I don't think so. Yeah, I went to files and just uploaded them.
So well, there you would need the quotation and then the .csv inside the quotation as well, which. But it also will need to be, yeah, so it's
yeah, I didn't set the
okay, no, I'm just trying to think, because it looks like, so click on your table to make the, let me see the table. Inputs table, go back. What is table? Oh, it's inputs table. Inputs table. Four observations of 4 variables. 1 second. So basically you're having 4 observations of 4 variables. That's weird. Okay, go on. What is your table 1? Line 10, run line 10 for me. Yeah, why is doing that?
This is recorded, right? So I can check it on YouTube later. I have to head out, that's why.
Okay, yes. Just remember, sometimes it takes quite a while to load. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it will be on YouTube eventually.
Yeah.
Can you do something for me? So on the line 4, the table as dot matrix inputs table, and in parentheses, the
Right
line
here.
4.
So do,
So instead of just saying inputs table, before inputs table, write as dot matrix, sorry.
oh, as matrix.
And then open parentheses and close after. Try that. Now run again line 10. Okay, now try again line 13. Now it worked. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is something that very frequently solves many problems. So the reason I knew is if you look in your console, what's happening there, there's like that character thing there. And it says a table 4x1. So the type of object that you created was a weird one, was not the type of object that accepts those type of comments. Which is the same reason why I'm not giving names to the rows on the gross output, is because it's a vector. I would need to force it into a certain type of object that I do not want to have because of line 19. It would create me problems later on. So yeah, there's a whole thing about what is what.
Luiza, can I ask you a really quick question?
Yes.
I feel so bad because you're trying to solve many questions through distance, but for some reason I wasn't able to upload the gross output 2 table.
Okay.
It says that it has a magic number.
A magic number?
Yes.
Wow, that sounds cool. Do you want to?
Yeah, I even tried to make like to change those values into Excel and then to upload the Excel one. And
but the inputs table you got, the table 1?
Right, yeah, I got that one. But
so let's do this. So do this with me. See if you can do it.
Okay.
Let me. This is not a solution. It is a workaround, so you can keep going with us, and then I can give you a solution later. Because it sounds like I don't know. I really want to do an office hour with you, because I see you're having trouble with the loading and things with your computer, which I think some of it might have to do with language in general. And I can help you with that. I can definitely help you with that. So try to do this. Oh, you're not seeing what I'm doing. So okay. There you go. So try to do this. So assign by hand those values to table 2. Oh, and then this line, you're just gonna do, wait, so try to do that. And then let's see if this also works. Yeah, so it should, so substitute this part. And so lines 3 and 8, instead of lines 3 and 8, go with line 14 and 15.
Thank you, Lisa.
So let's do that. Let's do a 5-minute break. I think this is a good point to stop for a minute. And anyone that is not, and then I want everyone in the next 5 minutes. Oh, it's my fault. I have two E's. I'm so sorry. I'm telling you, it's a hard word to write. And I think there should be two F's, right? Or something.
Yeah, 2 F's.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with this as well. Yeah.
1 F is more efficient, though.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, because so there's the, so Portuguese and I guess Spanish is very similar to that. Our words, like how do you spell something? It's not even a question that is that meaningful in my language, just because it spells exactly as you can hear. There are very little ambiguity in terms of letters that have the same sound or they're, but otherwise, so we don't have something like that where you have two, there are very few letters that can be put side by side. We can have a double S, but that's kind of it. So it's funny. It's yeah, that's something that is demanding for me, spelling, having to deal with that. French is also horrible for spelling, but okay. So I want everyone here to be able to get this line. Well, to get this line running and look exactly like that. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna give 5 minutes break. And after 5 minutes, I'm gonna ask again, and anyone that does not have that going, I'll do a 5-minute troubleshoot as well. So then we can continue. Because the rest, once this is working, the rest is gonna, it's supposed to be, because I feel some people are still in the loading even. I'm not sure. Rudy, did you get it?
No, because no, I'm following, but like I didn't use the RStudio yet.
You didn't do the what? Sorry?
I didn't use the RStudio yet.
The RStudio?
Yeah, I'm not using it.
Okay, so what are you using?
Nothing. Like I'm following you.
Okay, but do you want to try to be using it at the same time?
Yeah. Okay.
So do you wanna? So I'll give everyone a 5-minute break. Do you want to share a screen so I can try to help you? So you can try to be with everyone else.
Okay.
Okay. So let me stop my share. So let's start again at 11 for everyone else, unless you also are in the same. Because I mean, some people can express through this very weird way that they are having trouble. Some people I don't even know. So please do tell me. I'll be happy to help you. Okay. If you want to share, Rudy.
Yeah. So I'm here. I downloaded, saved my files on Drive, right?
Yeah,
So
so you
what should I?
so you saved it on the Google Drive, and what you have there is a.
I copy pasted the link into this.
Yeah, but it's not a link. It's so open.
Yeah.
So can you do something when you share a screen? Can you share? So start by doing get WD.
Get WD.
WD and then parentheses.
Then what?
Then run that line. I don't know why I'm not seeing your full console. Yeah, run that line, the get WD line.
What? Control enter. Yeah. Okay.
So you see, so right now you're set to your documents folder.
Okay. They
So,
are set into my documents folder. Okay. What should I do?
so if you wanna save the two files, the gross output and the inputs table into your documents folder.
Should I save them into? They are on my desktop. Should I save them?
No,
into,
not your desktop, the document. So C users admin documents.
Okay. What should I do now?
So if you save the two files, the inputs table CSV, and
Okay. Yes. Okay.
in that folder, the C users admin documents folder.
Okay. Just a minute.
One second, Lívia, desliga o forno. Tira, tá um cheiro brutal. Não, tá um cheiro delicioso, mas enfim, eu acho que tá pronto. Sorry. Were you able to, Rudy?
Yeah, just a minute. My computer is freezing.
Sorry?
My computer is freezing.
Oh. The other option you have is, you see so you have like 4 windows in your RStudio, right? The one on the top right, the environment window. There is that open folder icon there, which is the first folder to the first icon to the left, nearby the save icon. You see that?
No.
Do you see the environment window? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So you see right below the word environment, there is this icon, which is a folder with a green arrow on top of it. Above,
Yeah.
to the left a little. That one. If you click on that, so then whatever you saved.
Close again.
Did you save it there on the documents? No.
Close.
Now you can go and find that file, the inputs table. I don't think it's there. Do you know where?
I'm not able to.
Sorry?
I'm gonna have to restart my computer. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
Doesn't
Sorry.
work.
So once it is working, you can do that. Just open there and then just choose the inputs table file. So then you're just opening the same way you would open if it was on Excel, you know?
Okay.
But
Okay,
open it there, and then you open both of those.
Okay, and then copy paste the link from the document.
No, don't copy paste anything. Just open it. Then it would be fine. That's all.
From this point.
So if you, yeah. So now, if you can, do you know where you saved the inputs table?
I guess.
You downloaded it to your computer. You need to download it to your computer first.
Yeah, I downloaded it. It's on the desktop, but I'm.
Oh, so go on desktop on the left there.
Let me start my computer.
So meanwhile, let me stop the share for a second. Does anyone else having trouble?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
So do you want to share yours while
Yeah, sure.
Rudy is restarting his computer? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm able to run all of this.
Yeah, you have the same. So okay, go ahead, continue. That one
Right.
goes. The row names inputs works.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then this line doesn't work.
Yeah. So inputs table to some line 10
Yeah.
as matrix to do an as dot matrix parenthesis. Try that. Well, character, why the heck? No numeric arguments. Run. Oh, sorry. No, that should have worked. Can you run your just input table so I can see how it looks like? No, sorry, not the inputs table, the inputs. Line 10, just run the left side of it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You see what's going on?
Like it's
So
quoting all of the.
yeah, so it's understanding 90 as a text and not as a number.
That is strange.
I didn't use the as matrix function, and it worked for me.
You didn't use what?
So for where like line 10, I used just inputs, arrow, table, and
Yeah, that's what he had.
Yeah, I had that before.
So do as numeric that and see instead of as table, as matrix, sorry. Ugh. Try, oh my God. The other, so how did you upload it into there? Did you use the?
I went here. Import data set. Import.
Can you try to, instead of, yeah, I don't know. Inputs, numeric, oh my God. Inputs table for observations. Go on inputs table then, sorry. Just not the inputs. Let me see the inputs table. That one.
Here.
Or table. Let me see table. Run.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see inputs table first. Oh, damn it. But then you do have that. So instead of doing that, can you use the open thing, the environment, and then open the file instead of on top?
Here.
No, I guess that would give you the same problem.
Yeah.
Is your so instead of doing the as matrix inputs table, what happens if you don't do that? You had the error before, right? As well.
No.
Keep going. Yeah. Yeah, so what you want to do is actually in the inputs, so run line 10 again. Let me see inputs. So keep going, let's see what happens. Yeah, so on that line 10, do the as matrix, table 2 to 4.
Here?
No, on 10, line 10.
Okay.
Put it back there. You don't need the parentheses, you already have the parentheses, so. Okay. Go on. Why not? Huh. table for variables. Let me see. Can you show me inputs again? No. The iron, coal, and wheat, those are the titles, right? Can you open inputs on a, no, inputs. So go on the environment and open inputs for me. Why it's not giving, and then go back and run the table 1, the on line 11, yeah, or line 7, run line 7 for me. And line 11, try line 11 again. Why is it not running? So do a, do an as matrix of table 1 as well on the line 11. See if that works. Tom, you're gonna suggest something?
Oh, I just said like mine came, or my A table came out okay, and I dropped a screenshot of mine in the chat if you want us to compare it.
Keep going. Line 14. Well, yeah, do that. Don't need, yeah. Now, let's hope. Okay. So basically what was happening is when we were saying as matrix all the way up there on line 1 of inputs table, because some of it was text, it was kind of coercing everything to be text. So what you needed to do was to first drop the text part, which is the first column, and then do the as matrix on line 10. So basically what's happening, why we're having so much trouble with this, is because everyone is loading the data in different ways. And then when you load the data in a different way, it becomes a different class. And then there are different treatments you need to give to this to actually be able to do it. But now, okay. Anyone else having trouble?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Angie, did you get it? Did it work?
Yes, thank you so much, Luiza.
Yeah. Happy to hear that. So let's continue. Okay, so now we need to do our Leontief table, which is fun, which is here. So anyone remembers how to do a Leontief? How is the formula for the Leontief? So this is basically, so when I was saying that this is basically a multiplier, it is 1 over 1 minus the table, right? Or as you can think of a multiplier in general being 1 over 1 minus x. That's a formula in general for a multiplier, which gives you actually the product of many, it's like a geometric progression with a ratio. If anyone, I don't know if anyone follows me mathematically when I say that, but anyways, that's kind of the intuition behind why the Leontief inverse, or it's 1 minus x to the power of minus 1, or in this case, 1 here, because this is matrix, is going to be the identity matrix. So let me actually share this for a second here. Are you with me? Are you seeing the slides here?
Yep.
Okay. Where is the Leontief? Where does the Leontief?
It's towards the last, I guess.
Yeah,
Last
right.
of slides.
Yeah, here. There it is. So this is the formula for the Leontief matrix. So the Leontief matrix, basically the intuition behind it is that it is going to calculate what is the multiplying effect, or what is the direct and indirect kind of chained effect of changes in your production. So basically what we had before, we were saying that when we produce 1 unit of iron, there is a direct input of 0.5 of iron, right? But that 0.5 of iron itself has in it 0.25 of iron. And then on the next line, you also see that you have a 0.66 of coal in the production of iron. And that 0.66 of coal also has in itself some iron. So when you increase your production of iron, you're not only directly incentivizing the increase of the production of iron itself, but you also bring together more iron because you're using other things that themselves use irons, and so on and so forth. So the Leontief inverse, and when you look into this table here that he has for his example, you see that you have, for example, silk has all zeros and 1 here. This means that silk is not being used in the production of anything. So the only increase that you have in silk, when you have an increase in silk, is the increase in silk itself. That's why this is 1. So the main diagonal of this table is always going to be bigger or equal to 1. When it is 1, this means that this is a good that is only being demanded as doesn't go. No, it does go, because the silkworm.
Is this the non-basic good?
Yeah,
right?
This is the non-basic good. Look at the silk. It also, the silkworms actually go in the production of silk. Yeah. So when you have the 1, it's because it doesn't use itself as so basically, yeah. So that 1 there, it's because silkworm is used in silk, but silk is not used in silkworm itself. So basically you have no multiplying effect going through the increase in silkworm. The only increase that silkworm will create to itself is the direct increase of 1 unit. So you can read it that now you can actually read it this way. So that when there is an increase in 1 unit of wheat, there is a multiplying effect of 2.5. That is this chained increase in the production of wheat, because wheat uses other things to be produced, and those other things use wheat themselves. Okay. And so when there is an increase in the demand of wheat by 1 unit, you actually have a final increase of 2.5, directly and indirectly taken into account. Okay. So now going back to any questions on this?
When you increase silkworm, though, you would get more silk, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you increase silk, you don't get more silkworm.
When you increase silk, you get more silkworm, because
because the proportion is 1, right?
No, because you don't use silk and silkworm. This is what this is looking at.
Okay.
But you have silkworm in silk. So when you increase silk, these are the multiplying effect. No, sorry. Yeah, the multiplying effects of those. But when you increase silkworm, there is no increase in silk.
Gotcha.
So there are these 2, actually, from that, straight from the Leontief table, you would have what is called the forward and the backward chain, forward and backward linkages, which is Hirschman's effects using the Leontief table. So when you sum up this column, for example, you're going to be looking to the backward linkages, which you really read as when you increase the production of wheat by 1 unit. Well, actually, you can't add here because these are measured in different units still, right? But if this was an actual input-output table where everything is measured in prices and not quantity, this is still the quantity model. Then you could look into the backward and forward linkages. So the backward linkages would be from the demand side. When you increase the demand for something in 1 unit, what are the things that come together with that? What are the backward linkages of increasing that demand? And also the forward linkages is to be able to increase the demand for wheat in 1 unit. What is it that you need to be able to increase first to supply so that you can increase the demand for wheat? So here, yeah, but the main thing here is a total effect. So also call it the total coefficients table, while the A is called the direct coefficients table. So this is direct and indirect effects. But it's still a type of coefficients, right? So let me go back to my R. So the way we calculate that is, as I said, so where is here? I think I've got it here. So the Leontief inverse is calculated as 1 over, well, yeah, 1 over I minus A. Or as we usually write this, it's I minus A to the power of -1, right? Sorry. So this is the formula that I'm gonna need to tell this to do. So the way I do that, first, I'm gonna need an identity table. And I don't need any identity table. I need an identity table that has the same length as A. So diag just creates so diag just creates an identity table. So that's what the command does. The command diag creates an identity table of the length that it tells you, which here is 3. So you could just use diag 3 here. But the reason why I'm using the length of A is so that this actually works, even if what I had inputted here. Oh, well, before anything, I'm gonna need to call my coef an A table, right? So my coef so far. It's the same, yeah. So So I'm calling my coef A here just so the notation works. So my coefficients table, which is also called the A table, right? So when I say length of A, this is actually 3 because that's how long the A table is. Well, here I'm looking to the length of 1 column of A, right? Because the length is it's actually a 3 by 3. So when I do length of A, this is 3. So when I do diag length of A1, I'm gonna get the identity table that I need to input here, right? If I had a diag 2, so diag 3, I think this part would work. But if I had a diag 2, for example, this is gonna say non-conformable arrays, which is the type of error you're gonna get most frequently when you're doing matrix operations in R. This just means that these two things are not compatible with each other because they don't have compatible dimensions. And when you start doing multiplications, this becomes really hell because then you really need to be careful when you're doing a matrix multiplication of having columns of the first table equal to rows of the second table. So you're actually able to multiply them and having, you know, so.
Oh, sorry. When we do the diag length A, are we supposed to get a 3x3 identity matrix?
No, you want to do A1. So the length, yeah, when you do the diag length, yeah, you want to get a 3x3. You want to get a 3x3. What are you getting?
I'm getting a 4x4.
So when you run your A, did you do this line here? A scof 1, 2, 3, comma?
Oh, I didn't do the coef. I didn't do the second. Okay, I get it.
That might work. So I don't know. So maybe I actually put this here for some reason. I can't even remember now. Oh yeah, okay, that's the reason. It's because I still had the units of labor, right, on my coefficients table. What I need now is just the inputs part of my coefficients table.
Yeah,
So
after adding that little.
You actually need to run this line. So the coefficients table is actually different from the A table. I'm sorry. It doesn't contain the part of the. Yeah, I mean, you still would be able to do it because then your A also would have that size, right? So you would still be able to do it. This part at least, the solve would be a bit more complicated.
So Luisa, when you make the length A,1, you're making an identity matrix, right?
So the length A,1 is just telling, it's just what size of an identity matrix. The diag length A is making making a diagonal matrix with ones in the main diagonal, which is an identity matrix, of the length of A1.
Okay.
That has the same dimensions as a column of the A table.
Okay, thank you very much. And then why we are not taking the inverse right now?
We are. So that's what solve does. Solve is actually the command for inverting a matrix. So this is the identity. This is the A table. And this is the minus to the power of -1.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very helpful.
So that's our Leontief table. Is everyone with me?
Yes.
Is anyone not with me? Rudy, are you there? Did I lose Rudy forever? Well, he had to restart his computer, so. Prabin, are you there?
Yes, I'm following. Yes.
Okay.
It's good.
Michelle?
Yes, I'm here.
Bat, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
And are you with us?
Yeah, I'm kind of multitasking, but
okay.
Yeah.
No problem. And John, I don't think, did I meet John before?
Yeah, I'm there.
Were you here? No, you were not here the last weeks, were you?
No, I mean, last week I don't think there was one. And then yeah, the past I've kind of just watched them like afterwards.
Okay. So yeah, welcome. And you're with us. Any questions so far?
Nothing yet, no.
Okay. Sorry for putting everyone on the spot. I don't like doing that, but also like with the remote, it's just very hard, right? Okay, so let's continue. So the next step, so now we have our Leontief table, and let me go back to the question. So this will end and explain in words the meaning of the numbers appearing under the column width. You're going to be able to explain that. I went through that in detail. So that's how much well, when I go back, we can read that column again with the numbers that are there, but we already went through that. So this would, so far, once you get your assignment from Ajit, supposedly you're already able to do question 1. So question 2, answer the following questions based on the technical coefficients matrix A, which we already have, and the vector of labor coefficients that you calculated in your answer to question 1, which we also have, but so far we kind of took it out, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually create a vector out of that last line of the coefficients table, which is the labor coefficients part of that table. So the first question is, what is the maximum rate of profit? And show your calculations in terms of the maximum eigenvalue of A. So let me go back now to my, and this is actually, I mean, the math behind it can be complicated and annoying to actually be able to follow. So this comes from the called Perron-Frobenius theorem. And the formula is on, where is it? It's on page 77 of your Pazzinetti book on chapter, which chapter is this? Chapter 5, which is this Rafa system. So he shows, so if you want to go back and understand it, please do that. But your maximum rate of profit, let me bring this back there. So your maximum rate of profit is 1 over 1, no, sorry, 1 over, it's 1 over your lambda minus 1. Yes, 1 over lambda minus 1. So actually, the way that this is done is that your lambda, so this is the Perron-Frobenius theorem part. It shows that it gives you a lot of info about the maximum eigenvalue of a table. So if it's a determinate and non-negative table, the maximum eigenvalue of it, it's going to be below 1. It's going to be positive below 1, well, below or equal to 1, and it's going to be real, supposedly. Okay, and then the maximum eigenvalue is also equal to 1 over 1 minus the maximum rate of profit of your system. And then from that, you can actually calculate the maximum rate of profit of your system as a function of the maximum eigenvalue of your A table. Okay? So your eigenvalue, the eigenvalue is going to tell you a lot about how dependent or independent those columns are from each other. So if you take, for example, the diagonal, the identity matrix, it has 3 eigenvalues and they're all the same size. So this is a completely linearly independent table, right? And then if you take a table where all lines or all rows or all columns are linear dependent from each other, you would only have 1 eigenvalue. Or basically the number of eigenvalues that you have on a table is the rank of your table, right? So if you have a table that is 3 by 3 but has 2 eigenvalues, and then the third is 0, this means that actually the third column is linear dependent of the other 2. So they might be the sum of the other 2. Okay. So what we will take is this maximum, the maximum eigenvalue, and to do that, we're going to take the eigen. So the eigen function actually gives you eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Okay. And this one here is my maximum eigenvalue, which, as expected, because this A table has all the properties we needed to have, is below 1 and real and positive. Okay. So if I want to get just the values, we're going to use the $, and I'm getting just the values part of the function eigen. And this gives me a row with all of the eigenvalues. And then by chance here, this is already this is already the first eigenvalue is coming up first, which doesn't necessarily will be the case. So we sort it here to get this like that. We don't really need to do that. This is, well, a lot of this code that I did here, yeah, we wouldn't need to sort. We could just do the eigen actually. Let's make it simpler. A lot of the code that I'm doing here is coming from prior research I've done with input-output tables and eigenvalues, which was a bit more complex. So certain things that I need to do there, I don't need to do here. So, and then, as I said, so this is the formula that I need to put there. And actually the lambda is the first eigenvalue, the biggest eigenvalue. So I can get the maximum. I don't need the absolute value here. So in case in case your eigenvalue, so I had a problem and I need to go back and see what happened, but I tried to do the same thing for the table I tested after, for the table on the assignment that I showed you. And I ended up with the first eigenvalue having an imaginary part as well, which is not supposed to happen. So I'm not really sure what happened there. I'm gonna check on that. So if you run into that problem when you're doing your exercise, come to me, because right here, what we have is all of eigenvalues are real, but it's very common that eigenvalues are gonna have also an imaginary part. So when you have an imaginary part, you can actually do any type of thing with it. So then you will need to take just, when you say the absolute value of an eigenvalue, that would just take the absolute value of your real part. So this is a way of forcing this to just be the real part of your eigenvalue. But I need to go back because it was not supposed to have an imaginary part. But anyways, more on that later. So if you, I already did the abs here. So if you actually do need to take out the imaginary part, this is already incorporated into the code, although for this specific table, this is not a problem. So then you're gonna do 1 divided by the highest eigenvalue, all that minus 1. So that's just the formula. And this gives you that the maximum rate of profit of the system is 20%. Where the rate of profit here, so basically what this is telling you is this system, when this system reproduces itself, you have a surplus, right? So there's a certain amount of output that is created that does not need to go back into the system for the system to reproduce itself. So if you want the system to every year, year after year, to be exactly the same size with the inputs going in, what you need is that at least the gross output is the same as the inputs part of your table. So for example, in the case, so you need to have a net output that is not negative. So for any of your sectors, actually, when you're producing less than what is demanded as inputs from that sector, your economy would not be viable, as we say. So a viable system is one that can at least reproduce itself at the same scale. If you can reproduce itself, but also accumulate, then you have a surplus. So basically what this is telling you is that the maximum rate of profit that you can have, the maximum that you can take out of that system is 20%. So if you give 0 wages, you would get profits out of that system of 20%. But that's not going to be the case. So you're always going to be, so between 0 and 20, then you have like the distribution question here. How much of the surplus is going to workers? How much of the surplus is going to capitalists? And the total maximum of surplus, the total maximum of rate of profit that you can have when you just really increase your rate of exploitation to the maximum of it is 20%. Okay. So that's question number. So that's A. What is the maximum rate of profit? Show your calculations in terms of the maximum eigenvalue. So that's how you would calculate that. Then B is calculate the embodied labor, total labor requirements for each commodity. Explain in words the meaning of the number that you obtain for the embodied labor in iron. So the embodied labor, so the same. So first of all, let's create our labor. Well, you don't need to do that actually. So your labor, and yeah, so a note on notation here. When you have, well, except this R, oh, this is so annoying. So in general, capital letters are matrices. Non-capital letters are vectors. And then you also have scalars, which can be one or the other. So on notation, when you're writing this thing, sometimes the difference you're gonna make is making things that are scalars not bold and other things bold and so on. But this is very important when you're applying the formulas to know what is a matrix, what is a scalar, what is a matrix multiplication versus what is a scalar multiplication of matrices. Those are different things, right? If you're just doing element by element, or if you're actually doing a matrix multiplication. So I'm following, I think I'm overall following his notation. It might be that the Leontief inverse is quite frequently called Z as well. So, and that avoids confusion with the small l, which is your labor coefficient vector, okay? So my small l is just, if I go back to my coef table, actually my small l is just this row here, right? So my small l is what I did not put on there. So that's my small l, or my small l is also seen as the input, the last line of inputs, but this is already done, right? So it's the units of labor divided by the gross output. So this is just redoing something I already did. So you don't need to do it this way. It's more complicated. I don't know why I did it like that. So my labor vector, my labor coefficients vector is the last row of my coefficients table. And this is telling me directly how much labor goes into the production of each of these goods. But the same way that you have a multiplying effect for inputs, for physical inputs, you also have a multiplying effect for labor itself. And that multiplying effect, it's calculated by, and now, so now the multiplying effect is calculated by the Leontief table, right? So the Leontief table tells you how much you're multiplying things to actually get something. So for example, if you want to recover your gross output out of your net product, you can just do your Leontief table times your net product. That gives you gross output. So this is really the Leontief model when you think about that. So that would be that the Leontief table, and in that usually Z is used. So Z times Y is going to be equal to your X. X being gross output, Y being net output. So if you want to go, so here, let me look at the first table. So you have your inputs table and your gross output. So as I said, there is still a difference between those two, which is our net product, which we're going to create later, which you're going to take by the difference of that. But when you multiply your Leontief table, when you multiply your net product by your Leontief table, you would be able to recover the gross output. So similarly, if you want to get if you want to, so if here you had the price model where everything is summable, and you had a wage for your economy, you could get what is called the vertically integrated labor vector. The vertically integrated labor vector tells you how much labor measured in an average wage goes into the production of things directly and indirectly. So it's the total amount. So there is, so the Leontief is the total effect in a multiplier sense. And when you multiply things by the Leontief, you get the total impact of something in your economy. And so our embodied labor is gonna be our labor coefficients vector multiplied by the Leontief table. That's gonna give you the total. So first I do this, so I make a matrix out of this. I think I need to do it. Três por um. So actually, so if you are doing it like that, maybe this is what, give me 1 second. That's why, yeah. So you actually want to have your vector as a row vector, otherwise you have the non-conformable arrays. So I'm going to be multiplying my my labor coefficients by the Leontief. And that's going to give me the total amount of labor that goes into the increase in the production of iron, coal, and wheat when you take into account directly and indirectly. So to produce iron, you need 0.06 of labor to produce iron. But also because iron uses iron, and iron uses coal, and coal uses labor, there is also labor embodied in coal itself. In each unit of coal, we have an embodied of labor directly of 0.04, but then also indirectly. So this is accounting for both of those. So this is telling you that 0.63 of iron is just labor embodied there. Everyone understands that? Okay, I'm gonna take the silence as a yes. So this is our labor embodied vector. Okay. Yes.
A very quick question about something that we did like a few minutes ago. Why did we, before we did like the inverse of the identity matrix minus A, why did we subtract it from the row 2, like A, like we have a command that says diagonal 2 minus A, and I didn't understand
that was just to show you that that doesn't work, that unless the identity is the same length as the A, you would get non-conformable array. So I added this here just to show you the error you would get.
Okay.
You did it like that. Okay. So yeah, sorry.
No, and for some reason when I like see how this new matrix looks like, I have like all negative numbers and you don't have the
no,
same.
you're not supposed to have any negative numbers.
What?
Which, the L table?
Yes, and I know it shouldn't be like that.
So is this line here correct for you?
Yeah, it's the same.
When you do just this part here, what do you get? Sorry.
Let me see. When I did it, I got the identity matrix. So I don't know. I will check. I can later I can reach you out, but it's okay. thank you for clarifying the other question I had.
Yeah, you don't wanna share a screen so you can,
Yeah, I can if you want.
so show me. So it's still, so you're not closing the parentheses. So if you close a parenthesis there, that's gonna, well, it's gonna be a mess now. But just close it for now. Yeah, do it, yeah, another one. It's gonna give you an error. Oh, now I need to close it twice. Close again. Okay, so, no, don't run that part. Oh, you did. Yeah, so now run your A, just the A. Just type A. Okay, so now run line 29. Your A is correct. So then, can you run line 29? Now run line 30. One second, let me see something. It looks like, no, wait. You already have a problem line 30. You see how you have all the negatives? You can't have those negatives there. So run just everything that is inside the solve. I think you have a problem with the parentheses. Length, A, close. Yeah, so take a parenthesis out of there and put it at the end. Yeah, try that now. Must be squared. Why is it not squared? It is so squared. A 3 by 1. Now you have a problem with a diag. Length, close a parenthesis there again. Okay, okay, I know what I need to do. Close a parenthesis after the length A something. Close it there. Now give me a, yeah, now, no, wait, now you're gonna have the same. Run that line. You're gonna still have the negative. So now you're gonna close the, you need to put another parenthesis. This is weird. That makes no sense, right? Let me look on mine. Okay, I'm sending you a text in the chat. Oh no, I'm not. Why am I not? Copy and paste that and try again. I think it's the same, but I can't really tell what's going on. Because what I think it's doing is I feel like it's solving. I think it's inverting. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it looks the same result.
Yeah.
I will go back and do that later. But thank you, Luisa.
It makes no sense. Anyone else is getting that? Okay, I'm assuming that's a no. Let's continue. If you have a little bit, so you're gonna be done in like 10 minutes. If you have a little bit of time after, we can do that and see what's going on. Okay, so we got the embodied labor. So now the next question, the next and last question, I think that we need to do on R is a
Sorry, sorry.
So no, go ahead.
Oh no, I just have to run. I have to move my car for my housemate, so I'll just watch this the end on YouTube. Thank you very much, though.
You're welcome. Okay, so the very last question that we need to do on R is assume that the general rate of profit is 10%. Calculate the associated prices and wage using the net product as the numerator. So without going, I mean, if you want to understand quickly what is, well, I mean, if you want to really understand what's happening here and how this is done, there will be a lot of reading involved, and go back to Pezinetti and to the slides. But first thing you need to do, so there are 3 steps to that. So step 1 is get the net product. Step 2 is get the wage. And then step 3 is get the prices. So basically what he's asking you is to, so when he says use the net product as the numerator, so basically the system of equations, when you want to put prices on this, it's indeterminate. You have less equations than you have variables. So if you want to actually give a price to everything in your economy here, you're going to have a problem because you don't have enough equations to solve this. So the way that you solve this is by setting one equation, just saying that one of the prices here, I'm going to set to 1. So everything here is actually going to be expressed in terms of relative prices and relative to whatever I choose as the numerator. So Rafa has this concept of a standard commodity, which is exactly the net output being the numerator, which is basically saying everything is here measured in terms of what we call the GDP. So we're measuring everything here as if in terms of the price of 1 unit of net product. So when you set your system that way, you get a bunch of equations which are on the slides. So when you look into your slides from, 1 second, let me just give you an idea of where this is there. Rate of profit, numeric example R equals 0. Yeah, and when you set R equal to 0, again, you're setting that everything is going to wages. So you have these 2 extremes, right? We talked about the maximum rate of profit, where everything is profits, but also when you set your rate of profit to 0, what you're saying is that prices, so when the rate of profit is equal to 0, as you can imagine, the relative prices of your system are gonna reflect exactly the labor embodied in each of those commodities. So it's kind of almost going to a pure labor theory of value system in a way. It's kind of what would be the prices in this economy if there were no profits. Okay, so if you go into your slides from 35 forward, that's where you would find the equations to solve this last question. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically applying the equations, the equation for the W star. So what is going to be the wages given your profits, and then solving everything else. So the wages that you're gonna find, basically what you're doing here is that you are, maybe I wanna do it quickly here. So this is the formula we're gonna be applying right now. So this is basically this part here in the inside. It's kind of an alternative version of your Leontief table, where you kind of boosted your whole A table and coefficients to add the rate of profits there. The other thing to be noted here is when you say rate of profit is the percentage you take out of your capital advanced. So there is one assumption we're doing in this model, which is that wages are paid after production. So when you say capital, when you say the fixed capital of your economy, sorry, the circulating capital of your economy here, you're not accounting wages as capital. So you're talking about profits before wages. So you're not seeing your capitalist as looking into his wages and thinking, oh, this is also an investment, or this is also capital that I'm putting in my economy, okay? So this is why you have your 1 plus R multiplying your A. So it's just multiplying the inputs part. It's not also giving you a rate on top of the wages. So this here, it's kind of the, this first part here, it's kind of the labor embodied in, well, so yeah, basically what you calculate here is kind of your, so this, the excluding the L here, everything you have here on the bottom, it's gonna be like your gross product, given that you have that profit. So you increase your whole system by that profit. And then you just look into the quantities of labor. So when you did the labor, when we did the labor embodied before, we did the labor, well, okay, now I think sorry. I go back and forth on things sometimes, I'm sorry. So the labor embodied that we calculated before, I actually calculated this labor embodied in terms of 1 unit of each of those commodities, right? You might want to actually go back. It might be that the labor embodied, he's defining that as that times Y. I'm not 100% sure, but it is a possibility, where you're asking what is the total amount of labor that you have in your economy when you multiply it by Y. But it might be this. I can check and let you know. So now, so this is measuring labor embodied in terms of 1 unit of each of these commodities. When I multiply that by, when I multiply L actually by the total amount of your economy, the gross input output, with the wages, then I calculate what is the total amount of labor going there. And so the function to find the wages, go back, is 1 over that. So that's your W star, which we're gonna then input into this equation. Yeah. So this part here, right? So this second part here is exactly the W star. So we're gonna do this times that W. So mainly this first part here, I think it's correct what I did before. This first part here is now the labor embodied in an economy that has a 10% wages, a 10%, sorry, a 10% rate of profit. And then you do that times the wage of your economy, and then you get prices. Okay. And here, yeah, so this is the labor embodied again. Oh. Yeah, I think you need to multiply. This is what this is telling me. Yeah, sorry. I think this solves the problem. So I think you actually want to do the labor embodied times y here, which would mean bringing this. So first you want to do net product. I think you need that on your embodied labor, but I'm not 100% sure right now. So, just so you see the difference. Yeah, your iron gets to 0 because you have no net product in iron. All the iron is used in producing iron. Okay, so everyone understands the calculation of the net product. So this is just the gross output. And this here, so my inputs, I want to sum up those rows, see how much was produced, sorry, how much was demanded of iron as inputs in the production of other goods. And whatever is left, that's net output. So that's surplus iron, which in this case is actually going to be 0. So I first sum the rows of my inputs, all of these rows except the units of labor, right? So 90 plus 50 plus 40, and then I'm going to do gross output minus that. That's going to give me y. So that's the net product of this economy. And actually, iron is all used up in your production. Then you calculate your W star by doing this. And here, notice that we added that 1.1 here.
What is again 1.1?
That's 1 plus, I could have said little r. So that's the
rate of profit?
That's, yeah, so that's the rate of profit is 10%. So it's basically, I'm boosting my whole system by 10%. So I'm multiplying it by 1.1.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and one note here. This is a matrix multiplication, while this is a scalar multiplication. And then to calculate your P, you just use the formula, this formula here. This whole formula here, right? Which is what we do here. And so this is your price vector. Is this correct? Yeah.
Luisa, I know that Y is a net product of the economy, but why? What does the T that is outside that parenthesis mean at the end?
That's a transpose.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, let me look again. Oh my God, I'm so lost. Where is my R? Here, right?
Yes. Yes.
T of I do not. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the thing here, so this is me this is super weird. So basically the T of Y, this is coercing the Y into the type of object I need. And then I need to, for some reason, transpose it twice, which is super weird. There's probably a easier solution to do that. So maybe doing an as vector of Y, it might be better. I'm not 100% sure. No. Yeah, I don't know. This was my way of being able to get Y to look like a column instead of a row.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, it's 12:06 now. I think I left you with a question of what exactly is the formula for the embodied labor, if the embodied labor contains the Y at the end or not. But this is a very small detail. So your line 51, I can also check, might contain the Y in the end, might not. So it's just a matter of what is the definition of the embodied labor, if anyone has anything to say. That's great, but otherwise, this solves everything, and it should solve it correctly. We can do, so next session, we're gonna have a lot of upcoming assignments. So we'll be multitasking in a way, so everyone can come with their questions and we can just do a session where we are troubleshooting things as they come. And that hopefully will help everyone. Also, feel free to join office hours on Monday. I'm gonna send the link to that again and the link to the Excel thing. And if you're still having trouble, like if you're not able to follow any part of this, or there are certain parts that it got stuck, please do come to office hours, get an appointment with me. If you cannot come on that time, send me an email and we'll schedule a different time. So yeah, so you're all there with me. Okay, Angie, if you want to hang on after a little bit so we can look into that one problem specifically, you're welcome.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
I'm good with the codes, just one interpretation. In the eigenvalues function, we used eigenvalue parenthesis A and dollar values.
Yes.
How do you read that dollar values? I mean, what did we do by adding that dollar values?
So the eigenfunction gives you both eigenvalues and eigenvectors. So when you run eigen of A, it gives you the values and the vectors. What you want is the eigenvalues. So we don't have an eigenvalues function. You have an eigenfunction, and then you're extracting, you're taking out of the eigen object that is created of that function, just the values.
Right, great, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so I'll stop the live